Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it's the 24th day of April 2025. And we're going to have a great show today. I'm glad that you're all joining us, and sure seems like a lot more news is coming out. We're going to be talking about this morning. Data Republican had a wonderful post, and we're going to be showing that this morning. So first off, Pastor Dave Scarlett was supposed to be on this morning, but he had to reschedule because of unforeseen circumstances. So we'll be having him back on again on another day. So thankfully, my buddies Ralph, Karen, and Dr. David are coming on this morning at 9 o'clock and at 10 o'clock, a group that's trying to save Trout Lake, which is a lake up by Gladwin, Michigan. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to what the DNR has been doing in the state of Michigan, it's pretty sad because these people, I am not kidding you, are clear cutting the state of Michigan. And now what really shocked me with this, I knew that there was something going on with that dam over there with the collapse, which was Dana Nestle's fault entirely, et cetera, but they are doing illegal drawdowns and nobody knows who's doing this. So people are showing up at job sites, and this is crazy. So all I can say is that I believe that someone very nefarious is behind this. We're going to explore this a little bit because it appears, and in my opinion, that they're trying to drain our inland lakes and destroy our food source. This is what the communists, the fascists always do. So we're going to go there. So good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So glad you guys are here. I thank you for coming on. You guys are always so gracious when there has to be a change of schedule, and that's one of the challenges of going live. But also one of the beauties of it is that it's authentic and it is what it is. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So I wanted to show you guys this a minute so we can comment on. So Data Republican put this out. I really love Data Republican. This is amazing. USGLC appears to be the glue connecting Uniparty and Soros Gates influence together. Please read and share this thread. I'm going to say it, okay? I've been saying the political parties are structured like a cult, and they are the puppets of the globalists. They're being funded by the globalists. They're being told what to say and what to do by the globalists. They're giving us the illusion of choice in the candidates. And these parties who have taken the dark money and the PAC monies, they need to be abolished. And I mean quick, because they really are the card that it would bring the entire global crime syndicate down. At this point, they would lose their influence. So we're going to watch this. Nicholas Terza, the person who got exposed by James O'Keefe and OMG, was featured in the following YouTube video by an interesting super NGO, the U.S. Global Leadership Corporation. In the video, he argues for. So let's listen to this. And expect that to jump over there. I'm going to tell you what. Let's try that again.
Years. I served first part of that as a field artillery officer. I served. My name is Nicholas Terza. I was a U.S. Army officer for about 8 years. I served first part of that as a field artillery officer. I served about a year in Korea, and then I served about a year in Iraq. I joined in about 1999, I guess officially is when I signed on the dotted line to join Army ROTC at the university level, and then officially became second lieutenant in May of 2003. And I joined, I think, for the reason a lot of people joined. It was a great opportunity. There's a lot of adventure. Of course, in 1999, we had no idea how much adventure would be entailed for us over the next 10 years. But I also just wanted to serve my country. I grew up believing that serving in the military was the right thing to do. I believe smart power is simply leveraging all the tools that America has throughout the federal government to achieve national security objectives, business objectives, growth objectives, all those things that are in the national interest, and even at times for national values, and not just sticking with one set of tools when you have a wide variety at your disposal. I think what I saw personally in Iraq and Afghanistan is so often the Department of Defense, mainly the military, was very well funded, and we had a lot of assets at our disposal, and sometimes almost a blank check, but we didn't have the kind of subject matter expert. We didn't have the skills, and we really needed and wanted people from the Department of State, people from USAID, sometimes even from places like the Department of Agriculture or the Department of Transportation to be working with us on the ground, because the nature of warfare as it is today requires far more than just the Department of Defense. In Afghanistan, and trying to pursue counterinsurgency strategy, we all the time would cooperate with the Department of State, and often Department of State counterparts from other countries, from our NATO allies. But because the Department of State for so long had not had enough of a presence, especially specifically in the south and in the west of Afghanistan, it hindered our ability to grow governance, because there was no way we were going to be successful in counterinsurgency unless we were also successful in growing the governance of Afghanistan. My name is Nicholas Ryan Terza. I was a captain in the United States Army, and I'm a veteran for Smart Power.
So what's your thoughts on this, guys?
Oh, interesting, I guess. I tend to be more, I tend to lean more toward the isolationist side, in that we're supposed to have a militia for defense purposes and shouldn't be out there policing the world, and that, you know, our brave men and women in uniform right now would be better utilized protecting domestic soil, where we actually we need them, you know. But yeah, if your goal is for projection of power all over the world, that's definitely one way to look at it.
Yeah, I was thinking
Well,
yesterday.
the other thing that I see here is that he was exposed by James O'Keefe, which means that he's got a great story. However, he's basically making a point that USAID, though we put a whole bunch of money in there, they weren't there for our military guys on the ground. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like all they are is a money pit. And if we had good guys on the ground, they should have had some support, and or the whole thing is kind of a misleading sham. That's what I'm hearing, because he wasn't, I don't think that James O'Keefe was, you know, giving him props. I think he was exposing them. So why was it that USAID wasn't there with all the money that they had to help people? Why was the State Department undergunned with expertise? Were they just wasting the military's time? Were they putting him in danger? That's the question that I want to ask.
Yeah.
So little disturbing, quite honestly.
Very disturbing.
Yeah. So basically, NC Renegade says this is the head of the snake. The head of the snake is the U.S. Global Leadership Corporation, which he looks like he's a spokesman for.
Sounded like he was marketing.
Yeah, they're representing 400 NGOs. So if they're representing, the U.S. Global Leadership Corporation is representing 400 NGOs, Houston, we got a problem. Does that make some sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's I hate to say it, but you know, we hear all of the I wish I could fly into that link here a minute, but I can't online. I wish we had more of the answers instead of people who are standing up saying everything that they think we want to hear, instead of looking at, I mean, that was a very emotional plea, but there's something wrong. Do you guys feel like there's something wrong with that post? It does to me, because they're pushing more engagement of these NGOs.
Whole thing has just got me completely confused as to what the point was.
Well, the point was he was being exposed by James O'Keefe, because I believe he's a spokesperson for U.S. Global Leadership Corporation. So he's arguing for more involvement from these NGOs. That's what it sounds like to me. Did I read that right, guys?
I don't know. I'd have to listen to it
Yeah.
again.
Let me see what I can
Yeah, I didn't really understand. I mean, I've heard of USGLC before, and there's a lot there to unpack just with looking into USGLC without even getting into links with the State Department and with USAID. And I mean, USAID has been in the news a lot lately, and with even people that have come out of the CIA and or USAID saying basically the stuff that was too messy for the CIA to do, they shuffled over to USAID because there was less scrutiny there.
Well, let me read the rest. I'm just going to go ahead and read the thread. In the video, he argues for the involvement of USAID and State Department in military operations. Yeah, I don't see where this is a good thing at all.
No.
So let's see. He's featured in a YouTube video, basically speaking for USAID. The last thing, don't forget, USGLC is bankrolled by Soros, OSF, and Bill Gates Foundation. This could be very well the missing link between the Uniparty and the Soros-Gates alignment. So that's kind of what I see there, is that he's actually pushing the involvement of the globalists in our military. So this is something I think we got to really watch, because the candidates the Republican Party is pushing out there that they're giving us, and it's not just the Democrats, it's the Democrats and the Republicans. They're basically being placed as puppets of this globalist crime syndicate, U.S. Global Leadership Corporation, which is bankrolled by Soros and Gates. That's what I'm seeing here. And
the mistake.
They put these great videos out there to lead people astray. They're leading them astray by saying, well, we were lost. We couldn't fight this. And the State Department was under gun and they left us there. And everybody's like, oh, we love our military, because we do. And we support our men and women in the military. But it's not about supporting them. They left them, even if it was like how much money did they have, and they basically did nothing. It's just a money trap, and they're leaving our guys and our men and women, our family members, they're leaving them exposed.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to me like a commercial, like a pharmaceutical commercial. Hey, I'm qualified because I took this other drug and it didn't work for me, but I really want this drug to be able to help other people like it helped me. I mean, it just is kind of how it read to me, which is that's why it felt like a marketing thing rather than an interview of interest on a particular topic. It seemed like a marketing tool. Now, I've been a little bit more educated in the last few years on how to spot those kinds of things. But something Ralph said triggered what I was thinking about yesterday, how I feel about the military. Because when you say, like, for example, you meet someone and they say they're a veteran, and you immediately say, because you're a good person and you're a patriotic American, thank you for your service.
Uh-huh.
When I was a teenager or so was when we had this thing called Desert Storm, and people don't talk about that very much. But when I was in, I don't know, junior high school, I remember hearing about that and wearing a flag pin and what was it was Together We Are Strong kind of thing. They had a song that came out, Stand Tall, Stand Proud, Voices That Care Are Calling Out Loud.
Uh-huh.
And when you close your eyes tonight, know in your heart that we I forget the rest of that line. I used to know the whole song, but it was a bunch of celebrities singing together.
Yeah,
and that marketing worked on me, you know, so I grew up thinking we support the military meant if the government said the military was needed to help somebody in a foreign country or fight some battle, that it was unquestioned that we would, of course, we support the military, our wonderful military, go and help them. That was what I was brought up with. But that wasn't critical thinking. That wasn't asking, why are we going there? What the heck is it our business going to some other country to get involved in their nonsense? That's what it should have been asking, but nobody taught me that. So I think there's probably a whole generation of people like me that, oh, we must help Ukraine. They fall right in line with that narrative because that's what they were raised with. Our military goes there because the government says so. And of course, we're going to help them because we're helpful people. Aren't we the heroes?
Yeah.
I know several people who went to Vietnam, and they are just absolutely disgusted with what they saw and what they did there. That if you want to hear a really good conversation, Chris has got a huge conversation on this. He said, we thought we were doing the right thing, but they went there. People go and get involved in things because they hear the headlines, to your point, Karen and Ralph, and probably David. They want to be involved. They want to do the right thing. So they listen to the headlines. But unfortunately, the headlines are just mostly very misleading, especially right now. And I think that we're all waking up to the fact that the headlines are so misleading. It's really a shame because our hearts are good and they use that against us. How many people has our country absolutely been on the hook for the murders of them? Because they're regime building, they're changing regimes out, they're starting conflicts, and the whole thing is about basically killing people so that they can have the resources and get rid of whatever they don't want in their little psychopathic world. We have the same thing in the state of Michigan with the DNR. DNR isn't protecting our natural resources, it's pilfering them.
Yep. And I guess, too, what I'm saying is I think that we would be much better served instead of focusing our very highly trained forces outside the country. I tend to think that if we had all of our Green Berets concentrated here on U.S. soil and unleashed to repel invasion, as they're supposed to be doing, that we would have a lot less problems with invasion of our country. You know, we have spread all of our defense forces, because that's arguably what they should be, who are very highly trained and to be respected. You know, we have spread them all over the globe at the expense of our own country.
Well, when you listen to the Baron Reinhold, who I've had on the show before, he's come right out and said that most of the admirals that he served with should be tried for treason. And I think that this is a very important point, is that when we talk about an organization or a group, we're going to have a mix in there. And I think this is what was talked about in the Bible, that two will be working in the field and one will be taken and one will be left, because we have a mixture. We have a mixture of people who are controlling the narratives, controlling the organizations. We have people that want to jump on and do what they think is the right thing and work towards in their hearts what's good, all the while they're really just being used. And I see this in the political parties all the time, which have to be abolished. This link right here, what I was really, I was kind of confused a little bit by this until, you almost got to listen to it a few times, right? Because it's so misleading. You almost have to believe that this guy was a spokesman or a plant for it, quite honestly, because he's calling companies or organizations which have been laid out by Doge and everything else as these huge spending money pits, money laundering pits. I kind of wondering right now if the next one they go after is going to be the U.S. military. But that's one they're going to tread on real lightly, because people want to support the military, because we all know people in the military. They're our friends, they're our families and such. Well, what if the military industrial complex itself, through supply line management, James, puts, James puts our actual men and women, our families and friends in harm's way.
Well, why would we think the
know
military is different?
I know that I know something that they did is they were offering people in the military like $2,000 a day to go over to Ukraine to fight, allegedly to fight. You know what they did? They ended up taking some of our most trained military guys over there to be killed because they wanted to emasculate the United States and get rid of our fighters. That's what was behind that.
Well, I think that's also part of the
Sad,
danger
isn't it?
of having the military be centralized and organized top down like it is currently. We were not supposed to have standing armies. We are supposed to have community militias that then can amass together to repel a threat. And I think having it be in a top-down organizational system like it is now allows you to corrupt the direction and direct the moral thought processes of the entire chain of command from one centralized location. Whereas when you have it spread out more, you have a lot more ability for the individual communities to stand up and say, we don't think this is correct, and put up more of an objection because the authority is on the local level, not at the top. Not at the top.
I'm going to look something up a minute. Talk amongst yourselves, please, just for a minute, because I have a feeling this is what happens if somebody has to cancel. We have to like punt and get in there and try to make things work with a new topic. So if it seems that I'm a little scatterbrained, yes, I am. Okay, but it's for real. But we're going to get around this. I want to see. It was USGLC. I want to see what I can find on this about them.
Well, Ralph, you never challenge authority when you're in the military.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is we're supposed to only have an army for up to 2 years at a time, and they've gotten around that by reauthorizing the army. Congress has every 2 years, so that they're never formed for more than 2 years at a time. It's always basically just a new army every 2 years, right? But that's part of, I think that's part of the reason for that is because you go from a position of not questioning authority, and there are times for that. You have to be able to amass an army and put them under a commander-in-chief so that you can get everybody on the same page to repel a threat. But during peacetime, it should be, most of the time, it should be peacetime where you are in a defensive mode. During that time, it's supposed to be from the bottom up. Just like how our government's supposed to be from the bottom up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good. Before I was talking, no one could hear. I think there's like 2 layers here. I look at it as 2 layers. On the superficial layer, I think the military is just like everything else we're finding. The pharmaceutical companies, the food industry, everything has been infiltrated to gouge and gain as much profit as possible at the expense of everybody. So the military-industrial complex is that first layer, and really, if you think about it, I think one of you guys said something about having to follow orders. That's got to be the easiest one to infiltrate. You just got to replace the generals, the top level brass, because everyone else isn't going to. No one underneath them is going to say anything. They can't. So you got this huge military-industrial thing going on. However, and it is, I think, being purged by Trump and team. They are letting go of a lot of people, and they're catching leakers and cleaning out the Pentagon, I think. However, I think that there's something else much bigger going on. It's not just these individual factions or gangs running our world. There's something bigger. I don't know
Well,
what it is,
well,
but there's some sort of agenda to control that allows all these pockets of every industry and everything in our lives to be corrupted. There's something else going on, and it may have something to do with the military. And if you think about, is it the banking, the control of everything that uses our military to take out countries that and assassinate people that don't go along with it? Or is there some even bigger plan that we just don't understand?
I agree with you, David. Well, I'm going to read here a little bit because I'm on Copilot right now looking some stuff up. So this is the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition has a National Security Advisor Council, which is composed of 270 retired 3- and 4-star generals and admirals from all 6 branches of the armed forces. The council advocates for a smart power approach to national security, emphasizing the importance of diplomacy and development alongside a strong defense. NSAC engages with Congress, media, and community leaders to promote adequate resources for internal affairs budget. The council is co-chaired by General Laura J. Richardson, USA retired, General Anthony Zinni, USMC retired, and includes notable figures such as Admiral Charles S. Abbott and General Keith B. Alexander. And hang on a minute, George. And then I went down. What about the funding? George Soros and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have been involved in funding various initiatives, often through grants to organizations that align with their goals. Soros through Open Societies Foundation.
Well, it sounds like an NGO. This is a military NGO. There's an NGO for everything.
It is. So, and they're trying to hide some things here as I'm asking questions. I want to ask a couple other questions here. So talk amongst yourselves a minute, because I think I want to see why the NGOs are involved in the military. Shouldn't be a separation there?
Of course. Have you tried Grok?
I think Grok is better. Let me try Grok.
Oh my gosh, because it'll give you like the real answer.
Okay, let's try Grok a minute, because this is absolutely curated by probably Microsoft.
Bill Gates.
Okay.
Since when do we trust them?
I don't trust Microsoft. Hang on a minute. I don't trust Microsoft at all. They suck. Totally suck.
Do we all believe, though, that Trump, and when I say Trump, I'm using him in quotes now because it can't be just him. There's got to be a group, behind him that has planned this whole thing out and is executing on some. But do we all agree that there's some sort of plan much, much bigger than what we're finding out on the surface of the surface level corruption, that there is this higher level thing going on and they're fighting it?
Oh, everything right now is propaganda and a psyop mental game. They're playing games with each other. They're playing games with us. All of it is. You got to be suspicious of everything.
So I like that, Ralph. We're kind of in the middle. They're playing games with each other, I feel like, to catch us by or to do something to change whatever's going on. And we're kind of in the middle, and they can't let us know. We're trying to figure it out.
Some of it were collateral damage. Some of it were the intended target, and so you got to be real suspicious as to which group you're in on any of these psyops.
Well, we've been the part of I don't know if the intended target, but we're definitely a target that's as a population, the world population. I mean, these mid-level criminals, as I call them, have been against us for a long time. They're killing us. They're killing the kids. They're killing older people. I mean, they just don't care. They're killing the military. They don't care. They don't. We're just part. They don't care about us. They're fighting each other, and we're collateral damage, as you said.
Okay.
I saw a thing recently where someone made the comment, I don't remember who it was, that the US dollar used to be based on the gold standard, and now the only thing it's really based on is our military might.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't accept the dollar. Look what happens. I think that happened in Iraq, right? They went. Saddam Hussein would not accept the dollar. He wanted to go on gold. Same with Libya. They're gone.
So here you go. Okay, Copilot sucks. Grok is much better. U.S. Global Leadership Coalition is a network of over 500 businesses. And when I went into Copilot, it said like 200. So they lying. Mm-hmm. NGOs, 500 businesses, NGOs, and leaders advocating for U.S. investments, it's money, in diplomacy and development alongside of defense. It is not a company you can purchase or invest in directly. It's a 501c3 and organized basically on advocacy and strong international affairs budget. And it gets more interesting here. Hang on a minute. We got to go down to my next question and where I went with this. Both the Gates Foundation and OSF have funded global health and development programs, sometimes supporting overlapping goals. The Rockefeller Foundation to launch the Multilateral Development Banks Challenge Fund, administered by New Venture Fund. This is a $5.25 million initiative, supports initiatives, development goals, and the Paris Climate Agreement with initial grants to ODI and publish. Hold on a minute, we're getting there. The Soros Economic Development Fund and Gates Foundation were part of a consortium acquired Mologic, a UK-based COVID-19 test manufacturer, for $41 million. Global Health, Access Health, aimed at increasing affordable testing in Latin America, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and both foundations support public health, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what health? Their kill thing. There was one thing down here that really got my thing. Soros and Gates funded a biolab in Sierra Leone, causing the 2014 Ebola outbreak. They say our faults, wink, wink. But it is bringing things up as a question. Posts on X and some other sources allege Soros and Gates fund a uniparty network to or interfere in U.S. and European politics, citing their support for U.S. Global Leadership Coalition. These claims, amplified in 2025, involve U.S. GLC to subvert agendas.
I don't know. I think we should all try and get away from the Gates family financial control by going to Starbucks. What do you think?
Oh my God. All right. This is another rabbit hole we can go down to. Starbucks, the largest unregulated bank.
I knew you'd know what I was talking about.
Amalgamated bank?
No, it is a bank, because when you take a look at what they've done, they have, what is it, Ralph? $1.7 billion that people put into their gift cards.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, that they have no oversight to, no legal requirement to give that money back or services or anything. It's based on belief. And they can go invest this while people give them their money.
Yeah.
And who was the initial major investor in Starbucks when they went from being a coffee store to being a coffee shop?
Howard Schultz,
who was funded by Bill Gates' dad.
Oh,
Starbucks is a Bill Gates sycophant organization.
And you guarantee they're putting stuff in that coffee, experimenting on people.
Well, I tell you what, I saw the beans in Hawaii that they're using for Starbucks, because we were there and we were doing coffee tours, because of course I love coffee. I am a coffee drinker and I can drink a lot of coffee. So we were doing coffee farm tours. The coffee cherries and beans that Starbucks buys absolutely are disgusting. And the reason is that when they pick a field, you have to pick coffee cherries within about 48 hours, or else they're either unripe or they're rancid. right?
Uh-huh.
I got to
Uh-huh.
see this hands on, right there. I got to see this in person. What Starbucks does is they will send workers in to pick every coffee cherry in the field, whether they're unripe, ripe, or rancid. So
Yeah.
because they
They
just
can't.
pick everything, they don't do it like some of the higher end brands do. They just pick them all, throw them in there, let them dry out, stick them in a
Maximizing profit. They
yeah.
don't want to send people to the field twice.
And then they over roast them to hide the rancid taste. That's why if you don't like Starbucks coffee,
I don't.
that's why you're eating rancid beans that they've over roasted to kill the bad taste.
Yeah.
I've never drank coffee in my life, and I'm okay with that.
Starbucks suck. It's the right there. I'm going to tell you what coffee.
I don't even like the smell of it. I don't understand. And same is true with alcohol. Like the only alcohol I get is what is naturally found in kombucha.
Well, think about this: if they have a reserve of people giving them their money at one, and they have $1.7 million in their hands, or $1 billion, $1.7 billion in their hands.
Wait, 1.7? That can't be right.
No, it is. It's right. And they can $1.7 billion in their hands to invest without paying the investors, those that are putting in money into their gift cards and such, which a lot of them are never redeemed. They make $84 million a year on interest at a 7% interest rate.
Is that one bank? Do they do other companies?
No, this is what cards? I know. It's just their account. It's just their account that they hold for people putting money on the Starbucks
I get it.
app.
I get it.
That's what happens. People are literally putting their money in this app with promise that they're going to get coffee back out of it. And Starbucks, funded by Bill Gates' dad, that's where it started. That's why they've got 35,000 outlets right now. That's where it came from. And so, they're sitting there smoking their fat cat cigars as people are just giving them money with no promise out of it. And they're taking that money and they're investing it without paying any interest to the people. It functions as a bank.
Yeah. And a lot of that money is never redeemed either.
Right.
Those cards. It's a good business for them. What are they doing with that money? Are they using it for good or bad? Well, we already know the answer to that.
It's crazy.
I blame Ralph for this tangent. I can always tell now in his voice and his little chuckle there when he knows he's going to trigger Donna into a rabbit hole.
That's right. It's right. He knows exactly what I've probably been, going off on over the last few days. Like the DNR is seriously near the top of the list, and Starbucks, because I don't like their coffee. Their coffee sucks. It's right there too. And then when you become aware of things, you gotta say something, right? You just have to say something. You can't shut up.
Well, and I am generally not much of a Microsoft fan, so any chance possible to bash on that whole side of things, I'm for it.
It's a good day. They're trying to capture all of our information, and okay, we could go on this one for a very long time on the corporatocracy, which is absolutely trying to be in control. Al Richard, hey Al, how you doing? U.S. has over 750 military bases overseas. City, state, D.C. is the military arm of the NWO. I agree. Agenda 21 and 30 describe their plans. World Economic Forum is over 200 layers deep. You want to come on, Al? This would be great. We're punting today because I absolutely agree with you on this. And then look at the Queen Gretchen of Michigan, who's bringing the World Economic Forum headquarters to Michigan. And this is incredibly dangerous because these people, they kill people. That's their goal. Kill them and take their resources. And the DNR is probably part of it. And probably anyone who's in the supply line management of Keiretsu Ames might have a problem with it,
Speaking of, did you see the new replacement for Klaus Schwab? the former CEO of Nestle.
What? Are you kidding me? Of course, because Nestle is pulling water out of the state of Michigan like water over a dam. I mean, I'm going to tell you what, they paid $250 for a permit to suck Michigan dry, and now they're trying to get rid of the food supply at the inland lakes so they can take Michigan and have that be their little gem of natural resources. That's what they're always after.
Yep. Well, have you guys seen the new Microsoft feature that they've been trying to push into Windows 11 called Recall? It's an AI tool that watches everything on your screen. It takes a screen capture of your screen every, I think it's like 2 seconds or something like that, and feeds it into an AI so you can ask it questions about what you've done in case you forgot.
Wow.
Well, this is probably just the formal part of it coming out in the public, because there's no way they've been doing this since 2000, 2002 or before.
Well, and they kind of made that clear in the license agreement for Windows 10, is that they could go through your computer basically and delete any files that they found objectionable. So you didn't own your data starting, a long time ago, and they backported a lot of those privacy invading features back into security updates for Windows 8 and some of them even back into Windows 7.
Oh boy.
But Windows Recall, it was such a PR disaster for them when they started rolling it out to their beta testers, because not only was it a security nightmare, but it was an even worse security nightmare because they didn't bother actually securing any of the data that it was saving. So any program on your computer could basically just go back through the video recording of everything you've done and all of the other programs on your computer and the stuff that you've typed in and all of that kind of stuff, rifle through that and do what it wanted with it. And the newer version of it is privacy protecting, where it stores it in a secure location that nothing can access, because we all know Microsoft has had a wonderful security record on securing everything on your computer against viruses and ransomware and such. But even with it being, better, it's still just why anyone would think this is a good idea is beyond me.
I just don't think they know. They get baited into it with all these cool little toys and tools, and the fireflies are, they're out there chasing fireflies of all the next new shiny things. That's exactly what's going on there.
And it also sacrifices the privacy of everyone that comes into contact with you, because now if they send you something and you have this active, well, now this thing also pulls in that data that is from somebody else without them ever having opted into it.
Well,
so the wise person once said, save everything offline. Save it, document it, and save it in a secure file offline. You may need it someday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all agree to the terms, and God knows what it says in those 60 pages of legal mumbo jumbo in there.
But did everyone that you know also agree to those terms?
I assume if they're using Windows, they agree to the operating system. I don't know, but I assume they probably did, since we never really talked about this stuff till a few years ago. Back in 2010.
Yeah.
Nobody thought about it. You didn't imagine that all these companies would be against you and your government is spying on you and out to kill your children.
Well, we talked about it yesterday, that they can see right through the walls of your house.
Mm-hmm.
They can watch you in any situation you're in. They know exactly what you're doing. And they can predict, because they can see what you're doing, it establishes patterns. Everybody has patterns. Uh-huh. So when we look at things, instead of listening to these headlines, look at the patterns. Look at the patterns of behavior. They establish patterns.
And that's what AI is all about, is pattern matching and trying to extrapolate future patterns. AI is really, at its core, it's a statistical tool. And that's part of the reason why AI works so well anymore is because there's enough data on the internet now that they can filter all of that through there to find human patterns. And it looks and acts like a human because humans tend to be so predictable.
You know, can I mention two things that I just find absolutely mind-blowing that most people don't know? The first one is that the AI can actually see you as you're walking around your house. As long as Wi-Fi is there, it can use the Wi-Fi signal somehow and can actually see where you're walking and what you're doing. But the other thing that I found even more incredible is about a year ago they came out with a study that you can put a person in a functional MRI unit and they can think of something and the AI can actually tell you what they're thinking about. So they like showed pictures of a boat to somebody who's in the functional MRI, and the AI would draw a picture of a boat, of a person, a car. It absolutely crazy that it can. It's rudimentary according to them. It can actually read your mind and know what you're thinking, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. What they tell us. So imagine how powerful it is. If you look
Hey,
that thing up, the video and the articles are mind blowing, and nobody's talking about it. It's
well,
crazy.
that kind of gives me comfort because the first thing they're going to get out of my mind is "fuck you."
Yeah, I don't know if it does emotions, but it does. Like
I can picture it right now. I hope they're all seeing this.
well, I think they know that they don't even need the AI.
And guess what? Your days are numbered. We are not putting up with this anymore. Feel like
Right.
Karnak the Great. Remember that, Karen? We always talk about that. McMahon,
Yeah.
Ed McMahon, and Johnny Carson. Okay,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
go there. What are we thinking of? What am I thinking of?
You know, you probably didn't, you don't really, now you kind of realize that those shows were probably CIA and controlled, and the scripts written for even Carson way back then, just to create this image that, or these, whatever they wanted the population to feel or think or do.
Yeah, that whole neuro-linguistic programming, predictive programming, and such. I mean, they're doing all sorts of things to put them in our brains before. You ever see The Voice of God? That program that they can project through.
Oh, yeah, the
That's
sky,
what they
through the
call it.
satellites,
What's that?
through satellites.
Through different methods. So I think that's
Mhm.
one of the biggest. I think it's an energy hack.
Well, they've got the system where they can do modulation of ultrasonic frequencies to do hyper-specific sound that can be projected like a laser beam at a person.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
the person is the only one that hears it because there's no audible sound until it hits something.
Right.
And when it hits something, that's when the sound, the interference of the ultrasonic waves comes together to turn it into audio, effectively making the target of it the speaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Active phased array antennas. That's a big deal. I want to show you this, guys. This is kind of cool. Okay, I think it's Naomi, right? Let's listen to what Naomi has to say here.
Well, look at that nice pair of shoes in the window. I think I'll try them on. Hello, I see you've been at the mall 10 minutes already and you haven't stopped anywhere. Oh, real weird that you know that. I'm just keep looking, thanks. Oh, this looks like a nice store I'll go into. Hello, I see you just stopped briefly at a shoe store. Are you looking for shoes? I can show you some shoes. God damn, what is up with this place? No thanks. I have to keep going. This place is hella creepy. I have to get out. Where are you going? You only spent 15 minutes here. Come check out our shoes. We'll know when you come back. You okay? Thank goodness it's you. How is this shopping mall tracking my location with such incredible accuracy? They know which stores I visited, how much time I spent there, how fast I walked. When your Wi-Fi is on, it broadcasts your list of all previously connected Wi-Fi networks every few seconds in what's called a Wi-Fi probe request. It's like a unique identifier for your device and allows people to track your movements. It happens frequently at shopping malls, airports, hotels, to track and identify people. Just turn your Wi-Fi off when you're not using it. Whoa, thanks. And watch MBTV for more privacy tips.
There you go. So they're triangulating through the networks, the Wi-Fi networks.
They do it with Bluetooth too.
You got to talk about this browser tracking, right? This telemetry, and this is automatic collection of data. And I would try and define this.
Oh, we got another one right there.
As data collection you can't control. And so these mainstream web browsers phone home regularly. There's no way to turn it off without modifying the code of the browser, which is actually how we got to the open source browsers, which we'll recommend.
So there's all sorts of stuff going on out there.
And that brings up an interesting point in that the Tor browser recently made a fairly significant change to eliminate the OS fingerprinting technology, where they would send so when you browse around the internet, your browser sends the server a whole bunch of information about your operating system. So it sends, like, whether you're on Windows, you're on Mac, you're on Linux, what version of the operating system you're using, what browser you're using, what version of the browser you're using, and that can be used pretty effectively to narrow down and track individual people, because it tends to contain enough information that it, in a lot of cases, it is not 100% unique to your browser, but it narrows it down significantly. And the Tor browser used to all spoof being basically the same Windows install, regardless of what you were running. And they recently made a change without any seeming justification for it to eliminate that feature and instead pass your actual operating system information to servers. So they seem to be trying to keep that change fairly quiet. So if you're using the Tor browser, be a little careful with it, because that's a major backtrack in privacy on that.
There is no privacy.
Yeah.
True privacy. They can hack into anything and they can track anything.
Well, and I've always believed that Tor, the entire Tor network, was compromised pretty much from the beginning. Because
isn't that why that one guy went to jail that Trump let out?
Well, supposedly they didn't use Tor to track him down. They used other mistakes that he made in the way that he secured the rest of his systems to unmask who he was. I tend to think that was more of a psyop to show people that, Tor isn't actually, we haven't compromised Tor. You know, we couldn't break Tor. We had to track him down using other means. But
you're smart, Ralph. You're very smart. That's everything has an alternative. So whatever, I'm trying to think, like, anytime I hear anything from the news or anything, I'm trying to think of what does it really mean? Something beyond what it really means. Like, I saw something yesterday that, Trump is constantly saying the Ukraine war never would have happened if I was in office. Never would have happened. I mean, the whole world has heard him say that 50 times. Well, maybe that's why he left office, just so Russia could go into Ukraine without, the bad guys and everybody blaming Trump for this war and suck us into a war.
That's a really interesting
plan.
He also said he would end the war his first day in office, and I saw this morning that he had posted to Putin, "Stop it! Stop fighting! We need to end this now."
Like so children, kids in the back.
It doesn't always work that way.
It's like,
stop it!
It is. It's all silly. It's all stupid. Like, I get that. Let the normies wonder what's actually happening and get caught up in the emotional reactions and that. If anything, I'm laughing because I'm like, okay, Trump, it's just, it's all, because it's all, like you said, it's all, what is the story we're being fed? Why is that the story we're being fed? I wanted to add too that I've been emailed by Walmart after I walked around in the store. That's creepy. Really? Yeah.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, if I make a purchase, they send me an email saying, which I don't go to Walmart very often, but I'm just saying, they send me an email, "Hey, tell us about your trip to Walmart for a chance at $1,000 or whatever it is."
Yeah. But
No,
they used to have a
no,
sign that
I'm
said
not.
they use facial recognition at Walmart. It was like 2 summers ago.
No, they know my phone.
Yeah, they
Yes.
know your
Somehow,
phone, and
Geofencing.
like
They know
Dr.
your
David
date,
said too,
too.
though, they are doing facial recognition in a lot of stores. That was one of the things that, if I remember right, I think it was Rite Aid had a massive problem with that, and that's part of the reason why they got themselves into financial trouble, is because they got into so much trouble for being so invasive with the facial recognition and tracking of customers, that they were starting to bar people from entering their stores because their faces got too close to matching people that they had identified as probable shoplifters.
Yeah,
wow.
predictive crime, right?
Yep, and they had
can
so many
take
false
the data.
positives.
Yeah.
They had so many false positives on that that I think they got sued for it, and they lost massively, and that was kind of the start of their downhill spiral financially.
Good.
Well, I think this is why disinformation is necessary, because we are in a war. We're in an undeclared war, but we are in a war, and they're employing 5th generation warfare on all of us. It goes from the predictive programming. So both sides are lying, and President Trump is at least smart enough to, he's smart. He's not going to go, okay, everyone, this is what we're doing. We're hiding behind this bush. We're going to ambush the bad guys at 10:02, right?
Right.
Ain't happening. He's going to lead people astray. So what is the biggest threat we have right now? And this is an easy question. What do you think the biggest threat in America is right now?
People being too confident in their beliefs of being able to identify the truth.
Bingo,
Yeah.
right there.
Yep.
You got it. It's the American population is unstable. It's not that we're not smart. We are. But we have had so many things. It's like being in a constant information ball crawl at McDonald's, right? Or whatever. It's like you got the balls, the things popping all. Nobody can focus in on what's important unless you turn it off. And you start focusing on what the truth is. So to be in, I talked to this group this week and I said, I can throw you some softballs here, but do you really want to know the truth? It's going to require you to walk away from your biases on what you've been programmed to think is good or bad without thinking. Because once they've got you with saying, oh, this organization is good, everything that they throw at you, you're going to agree with, because it reinforces your biases. And it makes people have a false sense of having control of a situation. And that's what people desire, is they desire security and control. It's an illusion. We never have that. Not for one day of our lives. And you got to be okay with, taking that sled out on the biggest hill in the middle of winter and careening down that slide, or careening down the death rapids on a river, something like that, because we never have control. None of us has tomorrow guaranteed.
Question everything, including your ability to question everything.
And our egos.
Yeah, once you start getting too sure that you know what you think, what is going on, that you've been able to hunt through it and find the truth, and you're so sure of that, that is, once again, something that can be leveraged against you by people who are trying to control you. It may be the truth, but make sure you're also questioning people who believe, or who go along with your existing beliefs, because they may also be trying to effectively being the goats that are leading you astray, coming along with the pack of the truth and adding just enough misinformation to get you redirected.
Well, look at the political parties, which have to be abolished because they're being funded through methods, as we were talking about earlier, and they're funding the military through it, and that's how they're laundering money
through Starbucks gift cards.
There you go. with Gates, Papa Gates funded it. He's behind it. that's going to be shocking to a lot of people. It's like, yeah, you're drinking Bill Gates coffee. If you're drinking Starbucks coffee, sorry to be the one to break the bad news to you. But I think it's an important thing to get rid of our biases, because they have been reinforced and reinforced and reinforced over and over. The Republican Party wants to talk all the time about the evils of the Democrat Party. I hate to tell you guys, but Ron Weiser, who sat on the top and was the chairman of the Republican Party, was a member of the Atlantic Council, had ties to Burisma oil in Ukraine, and was a donor to Trader Biden.
We know it's the unit party.
Well, it's okay, so we get that. We and some others are starting to get these lessons, but I'm sitting here thinking there are things that are still shocking that most people don't know about yet. And it's making me think of the movie where the guy says, soil ain't green as people.
Because,
how shocking is that? How shocking is that? How horrifying is that? And there will be a time where every one of us, and I think I've hit that point a number of times, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if I hit that point a number of times in the future where I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know they were doing that to us. And we have to be able to withstand that blow, because what happened to the character in the movie, he just about lost his mind in that moment when he realized that they're feeding people back to people, and that people were, fighting over it because it was life sustaining. And how did this happen? How do you get from, well, they're just trying to separate people to, no, they're putting you in the gas chamber now and you're walking right into it. There's always a point at which you can disagree. When you realize what is happening, you have to disagree. And you have to have a little guts to do it. You have to have the fortitude. You have to be able to acknowledge and accept what's happening, recognize it as the truth, and then adapt to that information without losing your mind. And that's where, Donna, you said that the people are unstable. How many people does it take who are stable enough to handle that type of news to be able to say to everybody else, no, it's okay, we're going to get through this together? Because otherwise, you've got a large portion of the population losing their minds all at the same time. And, when we get to what they've done with the children, that's going to be a big one. Can we even get that news, break that news to the people, or we just kind of softly give it to the people that can handle it and ask them to do something about it?
Okay, and with that said, that's a great place to end. I love you guys. Thank you for jumping on when there was a change to the schedule this morning. I really appreciate all your wisdom and what you guys have to say. I'm going to be bringing on our next group, which is a group that's trying to save Trout Lake and expose what's happening with the DNR. I hate these people. The DNR, this is one of the greatest threats to the state of Michigan, because I'm going to tell you what, they've been weaponized against the state of Michigan. 4.6 million acres that they've claimed ownership over our resources, the mineral rights, the logging rights, the waterways rights, all of it. And they will manipulate us out of the equation, even though not only have we paid for it, not only do we pay their arrogant salaries, but we literally own all the assets that they are literally pilfering. And I'm telling you, when I was up at Camp Grayling, I spent a couple hours in the officers club, and then I did a huge tour around there. I came out of there going, this needs to be abolished right now. And I know the links that are there because DK was providing security. Where's DK based? Kentwood, Michigan. Who do they provide security for? Van Andel, the airport, Camp Grayling, no military present. Are you kidding me? Well, guys, we're going to take a quick break here for 1 minute, and I'll bring on these warriors in the state of Michigan up by Gladwin, Michigan, and we need to listen to this. You need to get other people on here listening to this, because this is a threat to our state, and it's a big one. I'll be right back. Good morning. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. This is our second hour of the day, and the day is the 24th day of April, 2025. Welcome to our show. Well, I got to tell you, you know how I get my contacts? I believe that they come from the hand of God himself, because it's amazing. And this gentleman reached out to me, and we started talking a little bit about the nonsense, and he hit one of my hot buttons, which is the DNR in Michigan. I cannot tell you the nonsense that's been going on here. You know, if you've been on listening for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I literally hate the DNR. They need to be abolished. They are an unchecked agency, and they are doing the bidding of someone to take our resources. I have some suspicions on it. The lake is part of the beginning of the North Branch of the Cedar River watershed. The Cedar River is the main source of the Tittabawassee River, which we all are familiar with because of the dam failures in Edenville and Sanford Lakes in 2020. Four Lakes Task Force FARS. This lake is a 25-acre lake that is fed by water table springs in the hills surrounding us. There are no other tributaries. The lake was established in 1960 when a small abutment dam was placed with the intention of farming trout via the DNR. We're going to talk about this because I think you're going to be shocked to hear what's happening up there. Good morning, guys. We have Shane, Linda, Guy, and Heidi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good morning. Howdy.
I'm wonderful, and I'm so honored to talk to you guys. I mean, you guys are fighting this and bringing this forward. So I'm going to let you guys talk and tell about what is actually happening up there, because you're in the fight and have seen some terrible things from the DNR. And I believe they're trying to absolutely choke us out as Americans, as Michiganders that are living here, by destroying our food sources, by pilfering all of our mineral rights, by pilfering all of our land rights and such. 4.6 million acres that they are claiming that they own the rights to and the management, and are basically kicking us, slapping Americans right in the face.
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Linda.
This whole fight started back in February. You know, the DNR hid this from everybody until the end of January. They went out there and did an inspection back in August of 2024 and found that the stop logs within the dam on the second bay were starting to fail. So upon their inspection of the DNR, the EGLE, you know, they knew this was going to happen last year, and they didn't notify anybody until the end of January, hoping that nobody would see it. And you know, we feel like this has been a big sabotage. I mean, we've been going at this since the end of February when we found each other.
Yes.
Well, it's really suspicious to me. I mean, look at the dam failure. In my opinion, that was all on Dana Nessel and whoever was telling them what to do with it, with the dam failure. This is where this kind of all started, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's one of the situations that it started.
It's grouped in with the initiative to remove as many dams in the state as possible. And this started in the governor's chair. And it involves DNR Fisheries, Whitmer, and Consumers Energy. And I'm sure there's more entities involved.
You know, they're saying there's no funding, but yet when we look at their budget information, it's in a ridiculous amount of money that they get allocated to them. And so, you know, they knew they had all these dams and they knew that they were supposed to maintain these dams. And we've actually got proof that, you know, they were supposed to maintain this dam and had recommendations from the EGLE from 2019, which they didn't do any of it until now. We've got stop logs that are failing. And now they're saying that they don't have the funds to remove it, but yet they don't have the funds to replace the stop logs, which are minimal. I mean, we went and got quotes on the stop logs. It's like $1,000. And they're saying that it's going to be $2.6 million to do anything with this dam. It's just ridiculous that the information we're finding.
And there's many contradictory correspondence from EGLE and Jeff Jolly himself out of Bay City, the head of fisheries for his area. There's nothing that is consistent with any of the correspondence on what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, and so on. And they're pulling permits and changing the wording and reapplying them. And it seems that if a public business was to do such, they would be disqualified from doing that job. But these people, these entities, they just go about their day without a consequence, having their feet held to the fire. It's just ridiculous.
Now they had an unapproved drawdown that nobody in one of the bureaus knew about. Some guy just showed up out there. And
I like to pick up stones, and I went out there to the beach area because it's a great place to do that. It's wide open. And I walked up on them pulling stop logs 2 days after a meeting that involved Gladwin and DNR and us and so on. And EGLE was there also. And at that meeting, it was stated exactly what, Linda?
Yeah,
that
so the county commissioner, we had a meeting with the county commissioner, and we were told that the DNR was going to be there, and it was just going to be a situation to where the county commissioners wanted to meet with the DNR and just kind of like have a public forum. Little did we know that this was considered their public notification. And they had stated during the public notification that right at the beginning, they had stated, you know, moving forward, you need to be aware that we are looking to remove the dam, but we're here to hear you. And we're like, well, why are we here then? You know, the whole premise was to just go over things and try to give them reasons and different ways of handling the situation. And then at the end, Jeff Jolly had stated that, well, this isn't going to happen until like the end of June, early July. And then Shane was out there. It just so happened on that Thursday, 2 days after the meeting, and they're starting to do a drawdown. We start calling individuals, and supposedly EGLE was out there and reported that there was high pressure within the dam. The water needed to be removed. And then I called Joy Stone, who's EGLE, who's been investigating the dam. She had no knowledge of this drawdown and was not aware that anybody was even out there on Wednesday, which was a day after our meeting. So, you know, it just feels like we're just being just snowblowed, and nobody's being honest. All we want
Right.
is transparency.
And so, strangely enough, when I caught them, I started inquiring their intentions with the dam, what they were doing. And both the officers that were there stated directly to my face that their intention was to draw down the lake far enough so they can remove the dam and the earthen berm that's behind the dam that holds the pipe, and that the lake will become a stream again. And so we reached out to WNEM 5 out of Bay City, and got an interview with them. And as soon as they realized we were interviewing, because we did the interview Friday, the day after I caught them pulling stop logs from the dam, and we did it on site. The DNR actually showed up there during the interview and tucked tail and run. They didn't even get out of their truck when they realized what we were doing. So that was about noon Friday. And by 4 o'clock, DNR had sent a presser to NEM5 stating that it was an emergency drawdown. Even though the officers told me to my face while they were doing it, it was for the intention of removing the dam within a couple months.
Wow.
And actually, a video guy recorded me talking about that, because I called Guy up. As soon as I figured out what was going on, I called Guy up and he met me out there. And they had left just before Guy showed up. And so it was fresh in my mind. And he recorded me explaining what they said. And then we did the interview, and their story changed to the presser, to NEM5, kind of making us look a little, crazy, because we're worried about an emergency drawdown because of some leaky wooden boards. It just felt wrong. And the spin doctor works.
Yeah, ironically, Monday, the day before the commissioner meeting, we were meeting with State Representative Hoadley, and Senator Houck was at this meeting, and it was a big discussion regarding what was going on, what was going to happen, what we needed to do moving forward. We turned in a ton of petitions. It was over 2,000 petitions we had, signatures. And so come Thursday, when they're doing this, I'm on the phone. We're all three of us are on the phone calling, Representative Hoadley's office, Senator Houck's office. Nobody even got word that this was going on, and they're supposed to be in communication with the DNR. So it seems like the DNR did a slip on them too, and just left them in the dark to do this behind everybody's back. So what is the real agenda here? Yeah, we know there's a couple of bad stop logs in there, but the pipe was just investigated. Guy was there, recorded the pipe being investigated. They stated that the pipe is in good shape, and we're watching this drawdown. I mean, they've been there almost every single day watching it. And in the permit, it states they are not allowed 6 inches per day and no more than 12 inches in a week's period. The first week they were 30 inches down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And EGLE was notified and nothing's happening.
Right. I want to add this. So this is just my perspective, but the amount of water that was coming out of that pipe was enough that it literally had to burp every so often, and you could feel the earth that was on top of the pipe shake as this water was flushing through the pipe. And I think that they intentionally allowed so much water through, hoping to damage so that way they could utilize that as an inspection failure, quote unquote, and then have reason to remove it. It moved so much soil in the river that it flows into, that the whole bottom of the river now is all rocks. There's no soil for probably, what would you say, almost a football field. It's all stones of all different sizes.
Yeah, and you know, before this all started, it was what a tiny. Well, it still is just a stream, but before they started this, the stream was what,
You could
maybe
literally step across this in places. But when this was flowing, that day that they pulled the logs, it was probably 10, 12 feet wide, and close to 4 or 5 feet deep. It was moving fast enough that even the biggest, strongest man could not hold himself there. It would push you over. And this creek is just a trickle commonly coming out of this lake. It's a beautiful little spot.
And you guys were talking about the fact that the loons had been there on the lake also. And so the name Department of Natural Resources, any of that, is highly misleading. And they have been telling us for years that they're protecting our resources, and they're not. They're stealing, they're pilfering that.
They're more
into a Chinese
they're parasites.
They're parasites. They're going into a Chinese communist model by wanting to do public-private partnerships on our land because they're trying to nationalize businesses. That's exactly what they're doing. So they had 300,000 acres that they were going to. I want to read a comment here from Curtis. We're facing the same battle in Allegan County. We have the Calkins Dam half a mile from my house. The DNR is following directives and policies set forth by UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The dams were originally built with the help of the Army Corps of Engineers. The dams were originally owned and operated by local communities via municipal cooperatives. And this is another thing that I don't know if everybody knows this, but it used to be that we had fisheries, like a fishery in every county, where every county had a fish farm in it that was operated in the county. They have destroyed all of them, albeit two, and they did it in order to destroy our food source. And now these idiots are bringing a new breed of wolf in the upper peninsula or into Michigan, which is going to just decimate the animal populations that are here. Do you know anything about that? Would you like to talk on that one?
Yeah, I don't have specific literature to quote at the second, but the story that I've heard is that they pulled these wolves from an island just north of Lake Superior, in Lake Superior, just north of the UP. The island is now barren of anything living that the wolves could eat. They pulled them from there and put them into the UP. And now the deer population, the moose population, the caribou, rabbits, squirrels, whatever you can think of, is becoming very scarce in the UP. And I've heard talk that they're intentionally going to be bringing them to the Lower Peninsula. It's bad enough up there that the deer are heading south over the bridge quite a bit more than they commonly used to, instinctively, to get away from the predators. I mean, wolves are like the omega when it comes to predatorial packs, and these wolves in general are bad enough that because of the decimation of the other animals on the island, they become cannibalistic and very aggressive, and they're not afraid of people. Look into stories in the UP about it. It's quite sketchy and scary.
People are going up. Yeah, people are going up to their cabins, letting their dogs out, and the wolves are coming up and attacking the dogs right there in front of the individuals. And the DNR is stating that the whole deer population up in the UP it's declining due to the harsh winters up there. And
Yeah,
we don't know.
harsh.
There's other factors there. And now they got cougars
Yeah,
up there
like
as well.
like the UP's never had harsh winters before, right? Now suddenly, it's just like, you know, let's put some common sense into this. When you add carnivores into a pack of herbivores, the common, it's they're going to dominate. You know what I mean? And they're going to eat. That's what they do. They consume. And when you add the wolves to the draining of the lakes and the lack of fishing per se, because it's not as easy to fish a river, especially in the wintertime, that leaves people to what? You know, I mean, you got wolves on the rise, cougars on the rise, bears on the rise. Once all they start feeding down into the lower peninsula, we're going to have it's going to be difficult to hunt, gather, fish. You know what I mean? And it's going to lead to depopulation via starvation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's after. Guy, do you have any words to say about this?
He's got poor connection.
Yeah, I'm not sure his microphone's on.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I
There
can
you
hear
go.
you.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
No, I can't. I can't hear you, Guy. I don't know if we've got a good enough connection there or what. Heidi,
Is
what
your
do you
mic
have
on?
anything to say?
About that emergency drawdown, they did no monitoring. They're supposed to stay there and watch it the first day.
Yeah.
And they're letting people on the lake in kayaks go right up to the dam. Seems kind of odd to me if they're worried about those boards breaking that they're letting people do this.
Yeah, I mean, the water was rushing through there hard enough that, you know, one goof up and you'd be sucked right into the dam structure itself. And there were people out on the boats. And, I mean, we've been there just about every day since, and they're there once a week maybe.
And in the original papers, they're supposed to be there monitoring for mussels on the shoreline, any fish that are stranded, turtles, anything, so that they can be removed and placed in a different location, which would probably be Hoyser Lake, which is a sister lake right behind it.
And
Nobody's
they
been
were
there
actually
doing that. Nobody.
And previous to the drawdown, they're actually supposed to transplant as much wildlife, you know, the fish and so on, as possible. That never happened.
Well, they don't really get to the unfortunate thing is that this is a whole constitution issue of a constitution, a constitutional issue, because they are not supposed to be telling us what they're doing. I don't know anybody that wants these lakes destroyed or the dams taken out. And I really don't know anyone.
Oh, and look at the solar farms. Nobody wants those, but do we get a say in it? Absolutely not.
Wind farms, solar farms.
Behind our back.
How about the $715 million that Gretch the Wretch sent to China for Chinese business here? I mean, this is Gretch the Wretch. She's the queen. Nestle's her squire, and Benson's the court jester in this takeover, this evil takeover of this state. And the DNR, they're like the ring wraiths coming out of the woods on their death horses with their sickles around, because they aren't protecting anything. They're deceptive as hell. And they are running through this state, destroying. We could not, in our businesses, we could not leave a right of way like they are clear cutting with the stumps everywhere. These people need to be charged with crimes because they've agreed to the terms and conditions of what their stated goal is, as outlined in the Constitution, which is the protection of natural resources. It says nothing about pilfering mineral rights or clear cutting the trees. It's protection. Right. It's not harvesting. It's not doing business. It's not doing any of this stuff.
They're literally going against their mission statement on a daily basis.
Yep. Yes, this is a cultural resource for Gladwin and the whole state of Michigan. Jeff Jolly has now wife put in an application for a permit and done the work on this dam without it being approved.
Eagle didn't even know it was even sent in. And
Well,
then we got the other
he
aspect.
pulled it back after he did the work.
Yep, in 2024.
So Jolly basically applied for a permit on an unapproved product or project. Am I getting it right?
Work. Yeah, did the work on the dam without it being approved and then pulled the permit back.
Do you have all of this evidence in your hands?
Yes, I do.
Would you consider sharing this with me? Because I think this is something that we need to call to the attention in a legal way on what these people have done, because this is breaking the law. And this is how they're always doing, is that the government's completely usurping their delegated roles. It's in the Constitution. We were working on, I'm the chairman of the Constitution Party in Michigan, and we worked and wrote a resolution on the DNR and what they've done. And it's like, this is horrific. And realize that the die has been cast on this from what happened way back with the Transcontinental Railroad. The whole reason to exterminate millions and millions of American bison was to starve out the Native American population so they could go in there and do what they want. And out there, if you're out there by Promontory, you can see what they've done to the land out there. It's all fenced off so that the military industrial complex can work and do whatever they want without anybody overseeing what they're doing, as they're taking this world over and only allowing the brown shirts, or whatever you want to call them, to jump in because they're useful idiots that will comply with their agenda of killing the rest of us.
Right. Yep.
So,
yeah. So we've been doing a ton of investigation. Heidi's constantly pulling stuff up. I'm pulling stuff up. Guy's got, experience with the whole mineral rights situation. And it's just truly disgusting. When all of this started back a week or so ago with the whole permit, when Jeff Jolly originally placed a permit for an emergency drawdown, probably within the week, we went back on there to see if that permit had ever been approved. They literally removed it off EGL's website, completely removed it and placed a new one that is approved based on the 22nd, I believe. And
they did that yesterday.
Wow.
What was it, Heidi?
Yeah, they added a whole bunch of different stuff on there.
Yeah.
Like now they're taking the loans into consideration, where before they did nothing researching them and how it's going to affect them.
Yeah, well, so you know what? These people are idiots, because I know that they dropped the wolves off in the UP in order to control the moose population, which they said was out of control. And then they had to hire more people within the state to get rid of some of the wolves that were up there. In the meantime, why didn't we just allow the hunters to go up and responsibly take care of a moose population that was a problem? Instead, add a layer of wolves and then have a layer of other employees to take care of it. These people are idiots. Okay, they're idiots.
But yet they want to raise the licenses.
Yes.
Right. The fishing licenses, the hunting licenses, they want to adjust the timing and so on. And I mean, and if you look into that itself, those licenses to hunt on our property are illegal as per the Constitution of the United States.
All of it's illegal. They can't license something that we have a right to because we own it. So the driver's license are unconstitutional. License plates unconstitutional. All of
registrations,
the registrations, the taxes, the insurance that we're required to carry, but through their insurance fraud that's going on, and the rates going up. It's all about choking us out, so we don't, and taking our rights away.
Right.
Well, and the DNR, as far as the preservation and the conservation for our future generations, current and future, they've been this way since the 1940s. They would take these fish, plant them in oyster and trout lake, which already were lakes because of the beavers. And if they didn't feel that these fish were going the right way, they would drain the dams, fill them back up, replant them with fish. And this went on since 2003. So where
that's
there
money laundering. That is absolutely money laundering.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Didn't they say they chemically killed all the fish in the lake?
What's that?
Yeah.
Didn't they say they chemically killed all the fish in that lake?
Yep, they sure did. And that's documented. That is all documented.
Can you guys?
That they chemically treated the lake, drained the lake, refilled the lake, planted more fish. When that didn't work, they chemically treated it again, drained it again, refilled it. And it was 2003, I believe the document said that they finally stopped planting trout in there. So it's their, like you said, their mission statement should just be removed and replaced with, our mission is to destroy the natural resources of the state of Michigan. You know?
Yeah, as they try to do their land grabs and such. I mean, we can see that all over the United States, how a tyrannical government is working on all these land grabs so that they own it, which is they are not allowed to own property. The state, the federal government is not allowed to own it. It's supposed to be ours and it's our asset. They're literally just a trustee over a contract. It's a service company and that's it. I'm kind of the opinion that right now, all of them need to be fired. Every single one of these people need to be fired and tried for crimes that they've committed, because they're all committing crimes and then they're hiding it. They're hiding what each other does. So I've got a couple questions to ask you guys, because I think this is really worthy of investigating and putting this in an education format for the people of Michigan. Would you help work with me on that? And then maybe we can do some Zoom calls and get people active on how, and figure out ways on how to make this a painful process for them to break the law.
I would be more than happy to.
I think we can marshal the troops here to jump on this, because literally I've been railing against the DNR. I hate these people. They are some of the most arrogant people I have ever met in my life. 1,600 of them. They can come on your property. They can allege something and take it. You have no recourse. You have none.
All they just did that in Genesee County with a family.
All they have to do is allege there's a problem.
Yep.
And guess what? And our scumbag politicians can sick them on us, just like the wretch did during COVID, telling us what to do. They're weaponizing these organizations. They weaponize and use the NGOs. They're money laundering. This is a crime syndicate. Michigan is ruled by a corporatocracy mafia that is set against us.
And this is purposeful. I mean, the DNR, knowing that they have all these dams, they don't have a separate dam allocation. They don't even have a dam unit. What they have are these poor biologist fishery people who have no education regarding dam maintenance or anything.
Yeah, they've got education and zoology and aquabiology and so on, but no engineering. You know what I mean? Just no engineering involved.
Save the spotted owl nonsense. You want to know? I got a funny story to tell you, and then what I want to do is we'll go ahead and schedule you guys again, and we'll put this into a format that's organized format, so people can see the evidence of what the crimes the DNR is committing, and Eagle arguably. So I'm one of the only female pipeline company owners in the United States, and we were working out in Connecticut, and it's like, unless we're going to get rid of people like what they're trying to do in Michigan, we've got to have good, clean energy in order to actually live in the state, right? And responsible. We are so regulated. I'm going to tell you what. And if you're working in Alaska, they have people running around with little kids' sand pails and sand shovels. If there's one drop of oil or gas anywhere, they pick it up, right? So it's not like the probably the least of the polluters would be the people working in that industry. So anyhow, we go up to Connecticut, and the first thing is we got to get in training. Okay, all the training, and so the environmental training by the unconstitutional usurping organization, the largest polluter in North America, the EPA, and etc. So we go in because we have to protect the turtles. Our right away was about 30 feet wide. It was very narrow. It was tough. It was a tough one to work on. And we had to go down through, I can't even tell you how many tens of thousands of acres that this went down through. So we're going down through this, and the main concern here is protecting the eastern box turtle, money laundering, all of it, right? So we go in to this trailer. And the guy comes in, and he looks like a turtle. The guy looks like that's all I can. And I'm sitting there, and I've kind of got a big mouth if you haven't figured that out. He comes in the trailer, and he goes, "Guys," he goes, "this is such a big issue." He said, "I'm going to tell you, we've got to be so mindful." I walked from my truck 20, 30 feet, and I saw 5 turtles. And I'm sitting there, my jaw's about ready to drop, and I'm like, you walked 20 to 30 feet and saw 5 turtles. How can these things possibly be in danger? I'm
right.
Like, everybody's like, shut up, Donna, shut up. And I'm like, I'm not going to shut up.
Where's the picture?
5 turtles, 5 damn, and I said, call them, you saw 5 damn turtles in 20 feet. How can they possibly be in danger? And this is the nonsense we work with all the time. And of course, they use children in the universities who have no real life experience to go on and say, oh my God, they're going to kill Bambi, that sort of thing. And it's like, you know what? They're lying to you. They are lying flat out to you because their native tongue is the tongue of Satan. They're liars.
Yep. I mean, they obviously don't realize that there's still common sense in the world. They say that the cattail and the water lilies, they're endangered. It's the reason we can't pick them suggestively. But you can't walk a mile in the state of Michigan and not see them. It's crazy. But it's all about control and laundering and keeping us ignorant. The more blissfully ignorant the population is, the more they can do behind our backs, in front of our faces, and under our noses.
I allege they're using the waterways to traffic things because there's no development on the waterways. I will allege and say I probably could stand by this, that they are also using those waterways for illegal activities that
I'm sure.
are committed in the state of Michigan because nobody can see what they're doing. And
Yep.
So it's all needs to be surveilled. And I've got some buddies that I'm pretty sure are on the job on this, and very happy and proud to stand with them. And I'm proud and honored to stand with you. So I think what we're going to do is I always end with a prayer. If any of you guys would like to pray, that's fine. Otherwise, I will. And then stay on the line. I'll end the broadcast, and then we'll talk for a few minutes, and then I'll have you back on. And then I think we should jump on this together. This would be a huge deal to jump on. We'll get all the hunters and all the fishermen involved in this and tell them exactly what they're not going to do. And There's some very easy ways to hold them accountable. I am the accountability manager and a crime detector, I think, right now for the state of Michigan, because I'm not going to shut up on these issues. So let's go ahead and pray a minute, and then as soon as we're done, then we'll talk just for a minute. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all these wonderful people that care about your creation in the state and the people that are living here. This all comes to us standing together as your children, one nation under you. And we're so thankful for everything that you're doing, leading us out of this captivity by some very, very evil people who think that everything just needs to go to them. And they really have done horrible things to attack you, your world, and your people that you created. We're so proud to stand together as your children. We love you so very much, and we thank you for bringing these issues in front of us so that we can address them. You're helping us to learn how to stand as adults, to exercise our rights given by you, not the Constitution, our God-given rights. And we're thankful that you've given us everything here. This beautiful world you created is paradise. It's us that screwed it up. So we ask that you guide us and direct us. We ask that you keep our focus on you. And we know that you have a way out of every wrongdoing that's theirs, but we need to be willing to stand for what's right. And we're thankful for everything you've done. You've been a great friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Well, hang on. We're going to go to this part of the show, boys and girls, and I'm going to have everybody here back on again, and we're going to get a good connection so that we can continue to fight together. I think this is going to be the beginning of something really beautiful. So I'm honored, truly honored.
I think we're just as honored.
Yes.
So this is going to be this is going to be like a whole bunch of Robin Hoods going in and stealing from them what they took from us, because that's what it's all about. So here we go, boys and girls, that part of the show with go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I'd like to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, our president, Donald Trump, in cowboy boots. We'll see who wears them better. I win this one, I know it. But with that said, guys, there's my 2022 protest of the rigged elections and the continue to rig elections. When we talked about the organization this morning and what came forward with the head of the snake here, which is U.S. Global Leadership Corporation, being funded by, I'm telling you, they're being funded by USAID and the Department of State, who is meddling in everything. This is
our tax dollars.
It's all about our tax dollars. We're going to have to cut funding. And let's just say maybe we'll even get a governor in there who's a CEO who actually knows how to cut, defund, and hold people accountable, and just really just wants to be able to stay on the farm and shovel horse manure. I don't want any more of this nonsense going on, or this manure going on. So with that said, guys, you guys stay on, please. God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. We're going to do this. This is not hopeless. Remember, the first step to righting everything in corruption is you got to uncover it. You have to talk about it. We have to bring awareness to this, and then we got to get a plan and go forward together. Governing the state of Michigan is not up to these idiots in office, okay? We allegedly put them there, which we didn't put them there because they cheated their way in. But it's up to us to stand together, no matter who's in office, and hold them accountable. So that's what we're going to do. I was back in Lansing again with a lawsuit, filing more papers, and I have several more on deck. And we are not going to stop until they come to toe and understand just how unimportant they really are. We never needed them. They thought they've made us think we need them. We do not need them. We can do this, and we can hold them accountable and have good people in office who do what we want done. And if they don't, out of here. You're fired. You're voted off the island. You're done. And we're going to put them into a position where they can't get back up and do this again. So treason, crimes against humanity, all of those things have got to be launched against these people in lawfare. So what they've done to us, our time to turn the tables and use their weapons against them. Have a great day. I will not be on tomorrow, but I'll be back Monday. And so you guys stay on the line a minute, and have a great weekend.